In this last section, we will talk about the Commonwealth system. So, the Commonwealth system is basically a Republican form of government where the idea is that governments, local governments, state governments, federal governments, their sole purpose is to enact, provide opportunities for the creation of wealth, to help the community grow in wealth and therefore improving general welfare. So one of the things that you will see is that governments, local, state, and federal, are going to uphold court cases that will benefit the creation of wealth, the expansion of wealth, whether that is giving charters, permissions to companies to build roads, to build businesses, whatever it is. That's what one of the things that you will see. And so one of the examples of that is that part of this Commonwealth system is the power of eminent domain. Eminent domain is basically giving corporations certain rights that could eventually violate individual rights, but uh, according to the government, that it is important to think about the community instead of the individual. And if you remember, I asked you in one of the asynchronous check-ins, I asked you what is more important, a individual or the community. And so in a commonwealth system, it is more important to think about the community than the individual. So eminent domain basically is that the government is has the power to take away your property if your property is needed for the building of a canal, of a turnpike, a bridge, whatever, right? If it's going to help the community and your property is in the way, they're going to compensate you at the value of your house, and then you have to eventually vacate your home because it's going to be destroyed. So, an example of this, for those of you, for all of you who live in Anaheim, so the example is the expansion of Brookhurst, um, of Brookhurst, the street, right? Um, so this example of Brookhurst Street, between La Palma and the 91 freeway, there was an expansion that took place a few years ago. And there were people, and I know because I had students that lived in that location and had to move because the local authorities had claimed their land under eminent domain. So basically, they had to give up their land, their home, their house, to expand Brooker Street. And so that's the power of eminent domain. And so a lot of people, even back then when it was first used, they argued that this is a violation of individual rights. But eventually the Supreme Court held it under eminent domain, in that what it is important to uphold the community over the individual. And so for a lot of people, right, eminent domain is not something, it's too big of a power for local authorities, and so that's something that Americans faced during this time. So when we look at this concept of eminent domain, just think about it as the government basically claiming your territory, your land, and you have to eventually give up the land to the government. And under the Supreme Court power, they have the right to do so. And you, as a private owner of the property, you will get compensated for whatever the value is of your home. So again, that kind of tells you, and you think about it, it's not so Republican uh, way of thinking, because the Republicans is about equality, is about everyone being treated equally. But this is definitely not Republican ideology, because you have certain people with more power than others, especially those private owners who eventually lose their homes.